So I've talked a little bit about the physical changes that contribute to making sex not as exciting or not as fun or not feel good or making you feel like you don't even want sex. I also want to address what is really a huge part, and in particular for women, it's often said that we need the emotional piece and men don't. And I think there's a little truth on the men's side. They probably need some emotional connection for the most part, certainly as they get older too, but it's a lot easier for them to just get it up and have sex, where we need a lot more to be in place. We really do need a combination of not just the physical feeling good, but a huge part of it is the emotional. And our brains really are our biggest sex organ. And so, in order for us to, even if all the parts are working properly, you've got a lubricated vagina, it feels good on penetration, everything is working, you're not having a hot flash, everything is working well. If your brain is not in a good place, it may be very difficult to enjoy the intimacy with your partner. And so, at the end of the day, what does it all come down to? And this is true in every aspect of life. I've said this before, and I repeatedly say that the two most important things to be able to communicate about in a relationship or a long-term relationship I'm addressing is money and sex. And they're difficult conversations to have. Now, although money is not a particularly emotional item in itself, it doesn't affect you physically, it does have a huge impact on how you live your life. And sex, of course, is an even more difficult one. And we've always been taught, especially women, but even all of us have been taught that there's one purpose for sex, and we should all be very happy to get in bed, and it should feel good as soon as a man puts his penis in our vagina. It should all feel good. We may not orgasm, not such a big deal, but he will, and it will all be copacetic. And of course, the reality is that that is not the case. Now, when you start a relationship, there's this sort of honeymoon period that goes from, on average, 6 months to 2 years, some people 3 years. If you're really lucky, it lasts the length of the relationship, but it's unusual that it does. When sex, or the desire to have sex, starts to wane in a relationship, sometimes it's just the natural rhythm. You're just not hungry for each other in the same way that you were. But often there's a lot going on that need to be addressed. There are all kinds of factors going on that will affect how they feel about sex. So it may be beginning of your relationship, and I'm going to talk about heterosexual couples who get married and want to have a baby. So you're all excited, everything. For those of you that are fortunate enough to be able to get pregnant easily, it's a fun journey. And even those of you who have difficulty getting pregnant, once you've been fortunate enough to get pregnant, have your baby, you assume that at some point your sex life will go back to some sort of rhythm. But of course, then the kids get in the way. You're too tired. You've got stress, and as you get more and more into midlife, you've not only got the stress of the children, you've got the stress of your job, you've got the stress of aging parents, you've got a lot of life stresses going on. We all just went through this 3 year period of COVID. So, illness in general, any kind of illness. And then you have the hormonal changes. So, there are a lot of components. I want to talk about the relationship piece, though, because communication is the key to succeeding in a relationship in general, and particularly in enjoying your sex life. And when you've been in a long-term relationship, you develop certain communication patterns. And I know in my marriage, I was very much we would put it away. We didn't fight a whole lot. I think we both had a lot of resentment. I am a super open person, and he's much more reserved. And I think I never really knew how to be that person that I am today that can talk about anything. I was young and I wasn't taught, but I knew it was in me. I knew that there were things that I wanted to say and how I wanted to be, and I just didn't know how to be that with him. And it didn't matter how much counseling we had. We were just two people that were completely incompatible in that way. I honestly don't know what would have happened if I had really opened up then the way that I can today. The one thing I knew for sure was that in order for me to enjoy a really healthy, intimate relationship with a man, I needed to have the ability to be extremely open and honest and raw. And that not everybody needs that. Everybody has different desires. Some people are just happy to fuck like bunnies and have no emotional connection. But for me, and I think for most women, we really want to have that emotional piece and the ability to really talk about it. And it's a hard thing. The more you can talk about it, the more you can express what your needs are, the more you will enjoy the intimacy with that person. And the longer you're with someone, the better the communication gets, the better the sex gets. And I think that is the key. When I got divorced and I was able to start to really experiment, the first person that I dated was someone I knew I was very, very close with. And we were really able to talk about a lot of things. And I learned to be able to say exactly what I wanted, how I wanted it, which is something that also comes with maturity. So being able to use the words and to really say, you know what, honey, I love that you enjoy doing this, that, or the other, but I would much prefer you did that. Or could you slow down a bit? Or could you speed up a bit? Or could we do it this way? Or could we do it that way? And can we try something different? And how do you feel about it? Now, most importantly, you want to do what feels comfortable for you and what is consensual. And I don't advocate doing something your partner wants if it's not what you want. And if you want something and your partner doesn't, I don't encourage you to push them to do something if it isn't within their realm of comfort. Part of that might also talk to compatibility, sexual compatibility. If you both want different things in the bedroom or out of the bedroom, then you may not be sexually compatible. The beauty of being at this point in my life and having the tools and the communication and having had these changes physically that required me to be able to communicate with somebody when I get in a relationship makes it all that much better. And getting those to that point, getting to the point where you can actually communicate well with somebody about sex takes a while. You may be the kind of person that can just say it, or you may not. Most men will be happier to please you as you are to please them, and that can be done through communication. I encourage you to really talk about it. Talk about it before you even get into bed. I mentioned in one of my episodes about getting your blood test before you have sex with somebody. I think that's the first conversation that really opens up and says, all right, like you want to be open with me, you want to be honest with me. Show me that you are healthy. I will show you that I am healthy. And then we can start talking about making our sex life interesting. And then we can talk about what I like, and then we can talk about what you like, and we can try different things. When you start the relationship with open communication, the likelihood of it being long lasting is much higher. And yes, it's a difficult conversation to have sometimes, but once you get going and once you learn how to have the conversation and what makes you happy and what makes him happy, you'll see that the relationship will really blossom. I encourage you have those conversations. Sometimes it takes a little practice, and I'm open to helping you talk through these conversations. Maybe you need to just do a role play. Maybe you need to speak to a sex therapist who can help you talk these things. Maybe you can go together. Maybe you can read books together about different things that you'd like to try. It's really, really liberating. It's so much fun when you're both excited and you're both learning and you're both having pleasure and pleasing each other.